Okay, um, so there's a question here. Is there a difference between a pronounced prayer and the singing of a prayer? Does singing add a special meaning to words or in sounds? What is the meaning of some people having a gift of musical hearing and singing, but some people do not possess either of these gifts or skills? Are there creatures who can sing in seven voices at the same time? What could it mean if such a creature contacts humans during his or her prayer? What sounds exist in higher worlds? So that is one rather large question, which we have here. Yeah, I got it from Sandra. So prayers can be done on different vibrational levels. The prayers is very similar in a way to a mantra, which you also try to pronounce at as many vibrational levels as possible, actually. So one of the things you can use is basically if you say things out loud, it's a rather heavy vibration. It's a very solid vibration, and you often do that to affect things also in the physical world. So, for instance, the blessing of a house or something like this would be done on a very physical level. On the level of more or less whispering, overtones, resonance, then you're already working with life force. So often, if you want to do a prayer which has as a purpose some healing or some other effect on the life force, then it should not be spoken very clearly and very loudly, but it should be more already in a bit of a cadence or in a rhythm. Because also with the talking of the prayer, you're in a way connecting to the rhythms of your breathing and of your body. Then you can also have silent prayers or non-voiced prayers. So you can, in a way, vocalize. You can like tense your vocal cords without really using them. And this is more of a very subtle process, more of an internal process of association and linking to those energies, and those types of prayer work better on an astral level. So this is a very general thing about like how you pronounce in a very solid way or a more singing way, or a very quiet way, which is more contemplative in nature. But in singing itself, you can add a lot of extra complexities. Because in singing you have, in a way, also a kind of a cadence, a kind of a rhythm, and also tones you can use. And every rhythm, like ta-ta-ta, or ta-ta-ta, in a way corresponds also with certain planetary vibrations. So depending on what cadence you use in your prayer, and also the tone you use, you can also attune it to one of the planets. And it also means that the prayer you usher also makes contact with those planetary energies, or those parts of your own being get involved in that. And in the same way as a prayer or a song can correspond to planetary energies, you can also make it correspond to elemental energies. So definitely if you're using song or using rhythm, you can fine-tune your prayer, both in what type of energy you call, but also in where you direct the energy. I have to say that this is a skill I'm not myself very good at, but I know there's a lot of literature on it. But also the sounds you use in your prayer, so the kind of language you use is also very dependent on what type of energies you call up. So I think I've talked a little bit, I don't know if it was in this group or in another group, about the evolution of languages and magical languages. So certain types of language, they already have a connection to certain vibrations and also certain vowels, like A, E, U, O, have also connections to to different parts of the cosmos. So there's actually a lot of things which come together in a prayer or in a mantra. And within the Vedic tradition it is also said that you only need to say a mantra once, correctly, for it to have effect for all eternity. And I think this is very true, but it is really an art to say a mantra correctly, and it can take you a lifetime to try to say it correctly. And I think with prayers it is fortunately a lot easier. Because with the mantra you are in a way providing all the control and all the magic, but with a prayer you're in a way inviting other powers to help you, to work with you, also to inspire certain sounds or certain rhythms in you. So that kind of helps. I don't know if people can still hear me because Skype just went dark on my computer. Ah, okay, that's good. Okay, let's see if I find the question again. Yes. So singing definitely adds a special meaning to the words and the sounds. So I know people who actually, before they start praying, they give a kind of a concert for the devas or for the spirits to which they will start praying. And these entities are also attracted to those concerts, to those sounds. You in a way can create an atmosphere where such energies feel very at home. So by making the correct music or the correct songs, you can gather the powers to you. So your prayers will be heard a lot better than if you just do it straight out of hand. So singing actually can sanctify the space, can purify the space around you. So what is the meaning of some people having the gift of musical hearing and singing? Well, unfortunately I don't have it. I can neither sing, although I love song, and my hearing is not very good or musical. It apparently does run in the family, but I have not inherited it. So I'm not the best person to answer this question. What I do know is that people who have this gift actually are a lot better at least mantras, that I know for sure, because they can attune much more finely, much more precisely to a certain energy, and also because of the quality of their music, how they can in a way create very purely a certain harmonious atmosphere. They're much better at attracting certain powers to them. So I do think there's a very strong connection to music and magic and mysticism, but mainly to the magical part. Yes, and some people do not possess either of these gifts or skills. Well, that would be me. So I do use music. I have used singing bowls, I have used drums, but I always do this in a way with the help of a spirit which is connected to the singing bowl or to the drum, to compensate my lack of control. So what I often would do is, before I start drumming, I would talk to the spirit, wake it up, and say like, gosh, I would like to try to achieve this. Would you help use the drum or the singing bowl to create a certain atmosphere, a certain vibration, or a healing, or some purification? And that works quite well, but without it I'm kind of at a loss myself. Are there creatures who sing in 7 voices at the same time? To all likelihood, yes. What you see is that higher beings who have a more complex personality or more complex energy bodies, they are much better at manifesting themselves in various dimensions at the same time. So in a way, within themselves, they have a ladder between the higher worlds and the lower worlds, and they can just work on all these levels at the same time. And the being who can, in a way, manifest such a ladder can also create a very strong manifestation of higher powers in lower realms. So those beings are very good at, in a way, summoning or conjuring such an effect from a higher world into a lower world. What could it mean if such a creature contacts a human during his or her prayer? Well, usually that means that your prayer is in a way being granted. I had some lessons myself from a shaman who, after his death, evolved, and he got to the place where, in a way, wishes are granted. So you could say that in his own shamanic tradition he became a saint. So he can hear all the prayers and the songs and the rituals of other people within that tradition, and they come up to in a way his level, and then he has to decide if an answer should be guided to the person, if the, in a way, the guidance should, or the blessing should manifest into that person's life. And I imagine that this process of, in a way, manifestation is what such beings are at least capable of, if not responsible for. So they're, in a way, translators of, they can hear things from a lower vibration and take them up to higher levels, but also take them down from higher levels back to lower vibrations. So they're not locked in a very narrow field of perception as we are often when we are incarnated in a human body, but even spirits are often also in a very narrow band of perception, but they have a very wide band of perception. These are usually the more advanced beings, so not necessarily gods or angels, but often servants of angels or gods, who are capable of working on many levels at the same time. So it would mean that you have done a rather successful song or prayer if such a being has contacted you. So what sounds exist in higher worlds? Well, that is an interesting one, because some people experience the higher worlds as worlds of light and worlds of sound. Personally, I've only experienced worlds of light. I have not experienced worlds of sound. I'm told that the worlds of sound lie beyond the worlds of light. So it could be either that it's like a blind spot in my own perception, or a blind spot in my brain, so I can't translate it to sound, or I simply have not reached the planes of sound yet. What I've heard from people who can experience these higher worlds in forms of sounds, these are, by the way, the formless worlds, which manifest as light or in sound without any actual shape. And we translate these energies of the formless worlds into either light or sound. I've heard that the sounds are very, in a way, absurd and unexpected, almost like a bagpipe. So it is like a kind of a very rich experience, a very rich environment which you're in. So it's often experienced not so much as one sound, but rather like a concert. And if you focus on one aspect, you can focus on like one instrument in a concert. But in general, it is more of a harmony, like a choir, which you're listening to, or so I'm told. I can't go out of experience on this subject. Okay. Thank you for that question, Sandra. And in the meanwhile, I found the questions which were still left, but those were actually last week's questions. What happened with the questions I have not answered yet? Let me see if I can find a file. Okay, my Skype has crashed again. Sorry, my Gmail has crashed again. It's really time to get some new hardware. Okay, let's try to work a little bit from memory. Gosh. My memory is also failing. I need new hardware. I think there were some questions relating a little bit to masculine or feminine, but that's, yeah, I might be wrong once I find the questions again. But anyway, there is not so much really a difference in the sexual sense between masculine and feminine in the energetic worlds, but there is very much a difference in mission or style to which our masculine or feminine bodies correspond. So, for instance, in the same way as you can say, like, gosh, women are in the human race generally the most sensitive, more mystical. So in the same way you could say that cats are feminine because they're very open to those energies. And just like men are usually more goal-focused and narrow-minded, you could say dogs are more masculine. But it is better to speak not so much about masculine or feminine, but rather about certain qualities. And some of the qualities which we tend to associate with Venus and the feminine, they're basically the qualities to alter ourselves, to grow, to adapt. And the symbol for Venus is, as you know, the circle with the cross underneath. The cross is symbolizing the earth, and by the circle being placed above the cross, it also shows the dominance, in a way, of the spirit of the cosmos over the earth. So in a way, the role of Venus is in a way to receive guidance from the higher worlds, from the conscious mind, from the spirit, and to, in a way, transform the physical so it corresponds to the spirit. So in a way, the process of incarnation, of manifestation of the cosmos, and the receptiveness of the earth, so that the cosmos can receive the impulses from the higher worlds, is considered feminine in on our planet. If we look at the masculine symbol, many people know the masculine symbol basically as the circle with the arrow, but the original version was not with an arrow, but also with a cross. So it is basically the reverse order. So it's very much about the physical world being dominant over the higher worlds. So it is very much about the power of the ego, the power of magic. So how people in the physical world can do something and make the higher worlds or the subtle worlds or energies obey. So you could say that, yeah, what we consider masculine and feminine is more, in a way, the difference between mystical, which is a Venus energy, and magical, which is a Mars energy. Also, if we look at the tendencies, so for successful Mars energy, you need to have a certain stability and a certain control. because the higher worlds are reactive, but not always very responsive or not very stable in themselves. So the person performing magic does need to have a lot of stability, a lot of focus. So in a way, by necessity, they need to have blinders on to focus themselves. And the opposite is true for people who want to work with a mystical perspective. They need to be open. They need to be, in a way, more soft. And ultimately, to function, you need both qualities. You can't be only masculine or only feminine, because either you're totally blind and you go off into your own illusions, or you're totally open and pliable and you go insane, or you lose yourself, you lose all sense of identity, because you can't see yourself in the huge whole which you can experience. And if you look at the sun and the moon, they're often also associated with masculine and feminine, but they're associated in different ways. So if you look at the Germanic tradition, there the moon is seen as masculine and the sun is seen as feminine. And the rationale behind this is the sun gives warmth, gives life, so therefore it is a mother and therefore feminine. And the moon sets the rhythms when things happen, when the water moves, when women have their periods. So this is masculine because it's very rigid. But in the Mediterranean tradition they have the opposite. So they see the moon as ever changing, changing its forms, changing its face, changing its size. So therefore they see the moon as being very reactive and thus feminine, while the sun is very constant, just rising and setting and not changing that much. So they see that as masculine. But ultimately, the planetary energies are neither masculine or feminine, or both, depending on your point of view. Okay, I see a few more messages. Okay, could I advise on some literature on the topic? About sound, there are various systems in a way to translate rhythms and fractions into and notes into sounds, into energies, into syllables. One of the systems is the Archimetre by Saint-Yves Delvedre, but besides his system I've seen several others, and I know that also within the anthroposophical tradition there's also a relationship between rhythms and elements, and I know that there are some composers who work with that. Mark van Delft is one of them, and he also gives lectures on this topic, and he also has made some little books. I don't know if they're generally available, but if you find him you can surely contact him and he can tell you more. Nicolas de Jong has also published or self-published some books on the subject, so he can also tell you more. So you can Google both these people. Okay, I'll write the names. Okay. And let's see if my computer will do anything today. one of you thinks of another question in the meanwhile, please feel free. Okay. Unfortunately, my Gmail still doesn't seem to be working very well. So I have received some questions from Sandra, which were translated by Zinta, but I cannot open them. So perhaps Zinta could post them on Skype, or Sandra, or anybody who also received a copy. Ah, okay. Okay. Yeah. So, were there still questions left over from last time? Because I can't find any. Otherwise, I'll just start on a new topic myself. So one of the other topics which I think would be interested to go into a little bit more is in a way the whole tradition of mystery schools. A mystery school is often in a way the incarnation of one or more egregores who together or alone form a path of spiritual development. And if you look at the tradition of mystery schools, the first mystery schools came into being already in the Neolithical time. So with the ancient Celts, the ancient Egyptians, the Mayas, Aztecs. And basically they were looking for a way to make a person experience the cosmos and to understand what they were experiencing. So the idea of the mystery school is in a way to translate the greater energetical cosmos into a physical cosmos, which could be experienced more easily, or could help a person, guide a person into connecting with all the aspects of the cosmos. So often in the temples they would incorporate certain elements which are linked to the greater cosmos. So in Egyptian temples you often found the ceiling painted with stars or with signs of the zodiac or with planetary symbols. And in the same way many of the earlier temples also had different deities or different aspects of God, so they could in a way be immersed in a cosmos by being in such a place. And within the Hermetic school we do a little bit the same thing by placing symbols of egregores around the room, also to create a little bit that atmosphere. And the purpose of a ritual within within such a mystery school is in a way to focus on certain elements of the cosmos, so they become stronger, but also to help the person to identify a little bit with those elements. Because ultimately, the desire is that by identifying with all the aspects, in a way you start translating the outer cosmos into an inner cosmos, and that you can experience everything outside of yourself within yourself, so that you in a way become more and more one with the creation. And by becoming more and more one with the whole universe, you also start to gather more understanding of the higher powers within the universe, and ultimately understand the source of the universe, which is the absolute or the creator. If we look at the stages in the mystery school, we find that people are in a way brought up slowly to higher vibrations, because as I said, higher vibrations have a very strong effect, in a way that they are both constructive and destructive. So they are in a way the powers which shape our universe, which gives it its shape but also its movement. And if you are brought in contact with these higher powers without enough stability or control over the lower energies in yourself will be changed or dissolved. So it can result in a positive sense in enlightenment, because all your lower structures are removed. In a negative sense in insanity, because in a way all the lower structures are removed. So you often find in a mystery school that you have three grades of initiation. You have in a way the laymen or the devotees. So these are people who live just in the physical world, but they need some guidance or some help or some inspiration to get some support. This is the lowest level of initiation. These people work only within the physically shaped universe, within a manifested universe, the universe of form, and they don't really make contact with the higher powers. The next level is the place where you are actually devoted to a god or a goddess or a method. So these would be the monks and the nuns, and sometimes even the priests, who in a way are seeking more and more unity with the unmanifested universe. So they're in a way on the brink or on the threshold between the manifested and unmanifested, and they can start to get some understanding of why certain things are happening, or what is the deeper purpose, and what to do and what not to do. So they're no longer blind to the higher powers or to the greater scheme, and therefore they can move into a guiding role for other people, for the leaders, for the kings or the queens, or the warriors, the nobles. At the highest level of initiation you have the priests or the high priestesses. These are people who are not so much identified anymore with the physical world, but they're very much identified with the source. So they're no longer also really limited to the one tradition or to the one god or to the one goddess, but they start transcending that. So they start becoming hierophants, who also see the nature and purpose of their religion or their deity, or even their culture, in a grander scheme of things. So in a way the scale of how things are experienced starts to increase the higher you advance within a mystery school, and very similarly how much you advance in an egregore. But what's very important to note is that different egregores top out at different levels, and the same is true for religions. So not within all mystery schools a similar level can be attained, because some egregores are simply not as high, and some egregores also start relatively high, so you can't have the lower steps. So this is a very general story, which doesn't hold true in specific cases. A mystery school, because it's in a way a mirror of the cosmos, tends to hold all energies, which means that it holds both the light side and the dark side of the cosmos, and often also energies of other cosmoses. So it is not limited to only being Luciferic or Satanic or Unfallen or Ahrimanic. But there's usually a dominant energy, which represents the path of the school. But the path of the school, and to stabilize yourself in the path of the school, you also need to be able to deal, or at least to defend yourself against these other powers, and to understand the relationship of your tradition to their traditions. So are you friends, are you enemies, are you neutral? And these are things you also start to learn in mystery school. In the mystery school, generally there used to be a system of schooling, or at least a guide, a master, or a mistress, who would tell you what your next step should be, and how you should focus, or what you should develop, what is holding you back. And unfortunately this is more and more lacking in many religions, that you have a personal guide to that tradition. And it is something which should in a way start coming back in this current era, because many of the egregores are becoming more and more active, and there are more and more people who feel inspired by them, who feel guided by them, and can in turn also guide and inspire others to progress on that path. The other thing is also to combine a little bit the focus and the complexity. Because the tendency of modern people is to try to gather as much tools or as much power as possible. And this is not the way of the mystery school. Because any power you have, which you do not control completely, is actually a weapon of your enemy, something which can and will work against you if you're not careful. So within the mystery school tradition, you in a way select one tool, one power, and you work with that exclusively until you have completely mastered it, or at least understand its basics and its nature enough so that it can't be used against you anymore very easily, and that you have a certain measure of control over it. And how long this takes depends very much on the familiarity you have with that tool or with that step. And it's in a way like building a pyramid. So the highest level you can achieve while remaining stable depends on how stable you are on the lower levels, on the previous levels. And if the pyramid has to be higher, then also all other levels which support it have to become stronger, have to become broader. So it's very possible for a person who's already very advanced, already a high priest, that he needs to go back and spend some attention with his body, or with his ego, or with his emotions, or with his relationships, just to bring them to a higher level, so he's no longer held back by them. And this is very much to the opposite of how people in a way try to accelerate their growth by in a way building more like a column, like striving upward as much as possible, not spending time on the bottom, but they become more of an inverse pyramid, or like a tree shape, a mushroom shape. And these tree or mushroom shapes, which are very popular in modern spirituality, especially American modern spirituality, they're very vulnerable. So the person is strong on one level, but weak on many other levels. And they often feel a necessity always to retreat or stay on that one level, because they're unable, or it is unsafe for them to go to these other levels, which are actually lower than them. And often this personal fear or inability turns into dogma, like earthly things are evil, or emotions are bad, or relationships should be avoided. And this is not a natural form of growth. On a natural form of growth, you start transcending things. So you don't start out by devoting yourself to a religion, or you don't start out by having a vow of poverty or celibacy. It's more of a result, because there is no more for you to learn by having earthly possessions, or there's nothing more to learn by having sexual relationships. And then, in a way, because the spirit wants to move on, you stop having those fruitless and pointless relationships. And sometimes it can be necessary to, like, read ahead of yourself a bit, to have a look, like, okay, where is the next step? Where should I be going? And to make an experiment, to say, like, gosh, I will try for like 3 months or a year not to have sex or to have possessions or to be in complete silence or obedience. And this can really help you to gain focus, to gain a taste of what it is that you're actually trying to achieve. But ultimately you have to be willing to give up and to go back to the basis, to work on yourself, so you can stay on that level instead of fall back. And even though if you don't fall back in your current life, you'll fall back in your next incarnation, because you're always limited in your incarnations by the skills you do not have, and you have to go back to a vibrational level, which is the lowest vibrational level of things you still do not control. So striving for higher worlds, enlightenment, spiritual experiences, it's only of a very limited use if you don't apply these things to a lower level. And it should integrate, so that even while you are within a relationship or you have earthly troubles, you can still, just like that, switch and make a contact with higher powers or move your consciousness to a higher state. And this is, in a way, the purpose of a mystery school, to, in a way, build this pyramid higher and higher, so that you become really a temple to these higher powers. So I will also explain a little bit the concept or the word of temple. Literally, a temple means enclosure. So that means that if you have like at least 3 walls or 4 walls or a circular wall, you're in a way protected or sealed off from the things around you, but you're open to the higher. So the higher can be, in a way, on the physical level without being disturbed by it, without being harmed by it. So this is what the temple does. You create a kind of a shielding, so that the higher energy can remain pure even though it is on a physical level. And this is the purpose of a physical temple or a physical church, but also it is our purpose to become like a temple or to become like a church, so that we have, in a way, a place in our being, in our hearts, which the divine impulse can enter into without it being upset or disturbed by these lower powers. And the ego is a very important wall, but it should be indeed the wall of the temple, not the heart of the temple, because then things start to go a little bit wrong. This idea of building a temple is a very important one also to the Templar egregore. And one of the things which should happen is, in a way, that the temple wall is by nature, in a way, a ladder. So it is not just that you put a high energy on the inside, because the high energy, and especially if a lot of power gets concentrated there, it will start attracting attention. It will start attracting all kinds of powers to it, which will try to feed on it. So in a way, either it has to be hidden, or it has to be shielded or protected, or the impulses have to be diffused a bit. And in many temple constructions you see that it actually has various parts. So it has an inner sanctum, which is reserved for the high priest, so that would be, in the human being, would be our heart, which is where the most holy part of our beings, the essence, the most divine being exists. Then it has like the area around that, which is reserved for the monks and the normal priests and the nuns. So this is a holy space, but not the holiest of holiest. And this could be compared to our higher chakras. So this is where we have very much a purity and a concept of harmony, a concept of things have to be in a certain way which is in harmony with the divine. So our top 3 chakras are very much that part of the temple. And then you have, in a way, the outer courtyard where like the lay people can come to pray and to make offerings. And this corresponds to our bottom 3 chakras. This is what the part of us which has to do with the earth, with our daily lives. And in this same way, we should construct our inner temple. And if you are working on constructing an inner temple within your house, for instance, you also should do it in the same way. So you should have an altar, which is in a way the heart, the pure part of your house. And the room around it should be also a restful room. So it can be a bread room or a meditation room, or anyway a place where the energy is relatively pure, where you only do right things. So it should not be the place where you meet guests or where you do your work or other earthly things. It should be really a place of tranquility, of realignment, of healing, of harmony. And in the outer space around it, that's basically the lower part or the physical part of the temple. So it should, in a way, be inspired or be connected to the holy room, if you will. But it doesn't need to be that pure or that good. And one of the things you can do, though, is in a way the same way as like the old cathedrals used to have gargoyles, and the temples in nature, holy places in nature, have certain plants around it. And they're basically things which exist on a physical level, on a very low vibrational level. So a gargoyle is made of stone. Plants are also very physical and also have a very physical vibration. But the heart of a gargoyle, which is properly initiated, just like an icon, should be divine. So in a way you have something with a very low vibrational energy body, but which is inspired and controlled by a very high vibration. And in a way, even these outer areas of the temple should be connected to the heart as an inspirational force, as a guiding force. Okay. So, are there more questions about this story, about mystery schools and our own inner temple, inner sanctum? Okay, it's remaining relatively quiet. Gosh. Okay, well, that was more or less what I was... questions are coming. Oh, not good. Okay, well, then if there's no more questions, then I would like to take the people here for a little trip to a temple. So I will do this by way of a guided meditation. So you can just take a relaxed position. And start aligning yourself. Start with the heart, which is your highest part, your own inner sanctum. And open your heart to the divine, to the absolute. Feel the power of the divinity awakening within your heart. And when this power is strong enough within your heart, then allow it to slowly but surely to start transforming your higher chakras, so your throat chakra, your third eye, and your crown chakra. Slowly but surely you should feel that they too become more light, more peaceful, more in tune with your heart, instead of living their own lives, being involved with all kinds of judgments and thoughts. If some thoughts or images are popping up, just let them go. See them, but don't attach yourself to them. Just allow yourself to be restructured according to your divine nature. Now, allow the top 4 chakras to start rearranging your bottom 3 chakras. That's the stomach chakra, your hara chakra, and your base chakra. So that also your desires and actions become in tune with the divine. So that ultimately your physical life can also become in tune, inspired and led by the divine. And these are also the filters for your heart. So feel that the energy of the bottom 3 chakras goes on the outside of your energy field. So when something happens to you, you'll first have to compete against your will, your focus, your nature. And then in the middle of your chakra, of your energy field, place the energies of your top 3. So that anything which does come in is tested for harmony, for purity, for alignment. And so that only the impulses which are divine can reach your heart. So that your heart is safe and pure, and will only connect to those things which are safe and pure, and also divine in the world around you. Try to feel now what places or people or beings are you still connected to, and what places or beings have you been separated from. This gives you guidance how to nourish your spirit, how to feed the divine within you, and to create a network of divinity, to form in a way your own mystery school through this web of connections which the divine has made between you and other beings. Now that our own inner temple is in order, we can start attuning ourselves to a mystery school, to a tradition. And today I would like to connect to the mystery school of the Golden Ankh. This is an egregore which seeks to preserve ancient knowledge and to teach it again and again as it is needed upon the earth. So you can visualize a golden sun or a blue sun above your head. It's up to you whether you choose gold or blue. Let the radiance of the sun shine into your heart. And this radiance will start to elevate your energy body. You might feel as if you're drifting out of your body upward. This is normal, just let yourself be taken up to this mystery school which exists on the astral plane. It can also be, depending on the quality of the space you're in, that this school is coming down to you from the astral. That is also fine. You should start feeling that your higher chakras are now starting to connect with the other members of this egregore, the other priests and priestesses, monks and nuns, which are part of this tradition. If you focus on your lower chakras, you feel they become connected to the guardians of this egregore, to the elemental powers who serve the divine. If you go to your heart, you will feel the connection that this school has to the Archangel Gabriel. Who is the most sublime being and great inspirator of this school. When your alignment between you and the mystery school is complete, you can ask if there's maybe a lesson or a path or a gift or just an insight they would like to share with you. See if a certain element is brought forward either within yourself or from the astral school. It might be an image of a god or a goddess or some other symbol. You might not understand it, but that's also fine. It's just a focus point on which to concentrate yourself for your next step in your spiritual growth, in your spiritual evolution. And once you have achieved this attunement, give thanks to the school if you want to separate from them, or you can stay with the school some more if you like. So personally, I will now say goodbye to the school. Feel that I become a separate temple again, with my own light, with my own holy fire within my heart, to give guidance to me, but also with the new images, with the new focus, which was shared with me. And I now choose to realign my energies so that this new gift, which I was given by this mystery school, by this egregore, becomes a part of my path here on earth. Not just on the astral level. So that there is again harmony between what I should do on the astral level as a spirit and what I should do on a physical level as a human being, as an incarnated being. Feel that once this new mission, this new path has been accepted, that in a way you start losing the harmony, because the time for attunement, the time for mysticism is past, the time for action is coming, to work on yourself and to transform either yourself or the world by working with this power, with this energy. And feel how it inspires you on all levels. Thank you very much for listening. As I said before, I won't be there for the next 2 weeks. I will be in Russia, but I hope to see you after that. And, well, thank you for listening.